Let me know when you're ready.
This is another episode of Marketing Tips for Doctors with your host, Dr. Barbara Hales. Today, we have with us a special guest by the name of Maison Collawn. How do you pronounce your last name?
Mason Collawn.
Collawn. Okay, I want to make sure I had that right. Mason is a really interesting guy. Tell us what you do, Mason.
Yes. So I was the founder of MCMA Podcast. I was also the freelance blogger for Blog MC Anime. I just launched another podcast which is called Voice of the Voiceless. We allow people to tell their voice and the time that they were voiceless and how they found their voice. And I'm also big in TV production. No, I can do recording, sound mixing, filmmaking, all that stuff all in one. So I'm very versatile and I've been in retail for like 6+ years.
That's great. You do a lot of very valuable services. How did you get your start?
I got started as the blogger for MC Anime. Um, I was able to turn a passion into a medium to express that passion, and it just kind of cascaded from there in the podcast scene, live streaming to the podcast, launching another podcast. It's just been really fun to do that because podcasting is very easy to put yourself out there, but also give you exposure at the same time. And then, you know, I've been involved in retail for 6 years. So, and I've also had influence from my dad doing a small business. So everything kind of just compiles together.
As our listeners know, I'm really very strongly passionate about people having blogs on their website because every time you add another blog post, you are giving what the search engines feel is fresh content for your website. Otherwise, your website looks like it's stagnant. And then people wonder, well, if there is nothing new on your website, does that mean that you're no longer in business, that you died, that you sold it, that you moved away? In addition to the fact that it plummets your ratings in the search engines. So we all know that blog posts are very important, not only to supply the content yourself, but if you don't have the time or wherewithal, then you could entertain guest posts on your blog. But that really transitions to podcasts, which is something that you are involved in, because on a podcast, you could go as a guest, in which case you are um, being exposed to other people's audience, thereby increasing your exposure, as well as having your own podcast where you can be performing a service for others. So the service that you provide is really quite interesting. And how do you get your participants that are interested in coming onto your podcast?
It's a combination of I've done Fiverr, so I've looked to like podcast guests and paid up front for them to be on the guest. So that's one way you can do is have an incentive for them to come on if you give payment ahead of time. Now, most of the time that doesn't happen because most of the people I find are either in my network of Discord, which is a gaming community. So that's networking in itself. And I'm also in Podmatch and other podcasting directories to find guests with podcasters and podcasts with guests. So,
I
and LinkedIn is another way to find business professionals to give correspondence to your audience.
So you would go into a LinkedIn group and say, who would like to appear on my podcast?
You could say something like that, or you could do a post that's related to what your podcast is about. So let's say you had a podcast episode, or let's say you do a post. Is anyone looking for automobile? I am a person that able to connect to supplier, give you parts at a discounted rate. If anyone wants to know how to do that, please contact me. Or you just do a post to answer a question. What is it like to find cars in your area that's cheap and affordable? That right there will really be beneficial to connect with audiences because they see you doing something that is marketable to what you do, but you're answering a question and posting it on LinkedIn.
Tell me a little bit about your TV production. What channel is that on? How do people view the programs that you create?
So with the TV production that I have experience with, I had access to a studio, and in that studio, I worked as a team. So that's my personal YouTube at Maison Collawn. They can see some of the stuff I've made into video making, voiceover work. Um, I'm also in a series where I'm doing video blogs. I'm doing different categories in my life, like early childhood, family pets, and just recording myself in 6 part, 15-minute or less episodes in each category. So I'm actually expanding on my personal YouTube as I speak.
Is there a golden time in terms of length for videos or TV production that you feel is the key? What length of time do you feel is the most effective?
Okay, so if you take the genre, for example, if you have a sitcom is typically good for 30 minutes. It's a short episode that people can watch instead of the 1 hour episodes, which is like an entire block from this time to this time. If you're not like short content in the TV show and you want to be like more longer content, then having that 1 hour, 40-minute production is good. Now, sometimes the 20-minute production gives you an alleyway to it just depends on the genre and how your audience is going to interact with that show. If they have a short attention span, 20 minutes is better. If it's more drawn out plot with more things happening, it's more complicated, that 40 minutes is really key to give the audience what they want. And you have typically 10 minutes of commercials on TV and then about 20 minutes of commercials or 15 on an hour block.
If people are hiring you to do video production for their website, do they have to fly to where you're located?
Um, so there's two ways to do that. I'm on Fiverr, so I have like personal development, life coaching, also record any episode of any topic, but also have like scripting involved, idea consulting. So there's a lot to it. Basically, if they want me to record, they can go through that platform, see the different option I have, or PayPal with social media. Contact through email, PayPal's the payment. So it's both.
Where are you located?
I'm on Fiverr, so that's my main plugin for freelance business when it comes to audio and video production, idea consulting, writing blogs and articles, and then also having graphic design elements.
Okay, very good. Where are you located geographically?
I'm located in Richmond, Virginia, in the United States.
Okay, great. So, what are two tips that you could give our listeners who would like to participate in video production or podcast creation or podcast guesting? What would you suggest to them?
You find a passion. Focus on what you want to talk about. If you're in a big field of technology, or you're an expert at the job that you do, that is a good branching point to talk about and make content for. And another way is make content that you already know. You don't have to be an expert to make it, but you have to have an opinion or a way to present it to the audience that's either informal or persuasive or entertaining for the audience to come to you, because you need to have informing, persuasive, or entertaining in your particular show. So why you want to entertain is important. So are you informing the audience? Are you entertaining them? Are you selling them a product or persuading them to do something? You need to find that niche. And then if you're basically in a subject matter that you can present to the audience that they can take and learn from, it's another thing.
If people would like to contact you, how do they do so?
You can contact me. One, you can talk to me at blogmcanime@gmail.com. So that's blogmcanime@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook at blogmcanime, Twitter at Maison Collawn, my full spelling of my name. That's how you can search for me. And then Instagram is at MCanime Podcast. And I also have the website, which also has an email chain as well. And then also you can find me on at Linktree MC Anime, where I have all my links to my other podcast platforms and social media, which also has Fiverr connection. So if you want to hire me, you can do that as well.
And what is your website?
My website is www.mcanimepodcast.com. So that's going to be www.mcanimepodcast.com.
Well, it was a pleasure speaking with you today. This has been another episode of Marketing Tips for Doctors with your host, Dr. Barbara Hales. Till next time.